Crump was named the Chief of Police by Mayor Olive Tyler, and Chief Crump agreed the last time we had a meeting to come tonight and to address the Broadmoor Neighborhood Association. He knows that any speaker that comes to our organization must respond to questions from audience members. So he's prepared, and he has his crew with them. So Chief Crump, if you will, we will turn our attention to what he has to say about crime in our area. I mean, I know all of us recognize that it seems like we're under assault. And one of the things that we've been told is that the majority of the people that are committing these crimes don't live in Broadmoor. Something we need to remember as we listen to this speech. The people committing most of these crimes don't live in Broadmoor. Chief Crump, back to you.
Let me first say good evening to everyone, and thank you so very much for having us here, and for all the prayers, all the support, all that you, as residents of this great city, give us by way of your time, your sincerity, your finances, be it small or great. Everything together works to help us do what we do. So nothing, no effort, no activity, in my eyes, is considered too small, because all of it works together for the larger part of us being able to combat crime, try and give you a sense of security and safety in your city and your neighborhood. So again, we are so thankful. I want to say to the men and women of the Shreveport Police Department, I am honored to serve alongside them. They are some very courageous men and women, and I respect them and appreciate them a great deal. Again, to you, the citizens, you are the reason we do what we do. I know sometimes we may get on our soapboxes as law enforcement officers and think no one understands us, but as much as I go out and am in the city, I'm approached by people all the time saying, thank you for what you do. Our prayers are with you. We support the Shreveport Police Department, and that means matter of fact, words cannot express it. So again, thank you so much, Mr. Broussard. Thank you to this neighborhood, to this community. What I would try to do is talk about crime and about some of the things we are doing to try and combat it. I know lately I've been hearing the phrase, the perception of crime, but I cannot stand before you and give you perceived numbers. All I can do is give you a picture of the work that the men and women of the Shreveport Police Department are doing, coupled with the efforts of communities like yours. And so that cannot go without being said. Mr. Broussard did say something very true, and I know the concerns, especially at the first part of January, when the incident happened over on Southfield, that got a lot of people's attention. But something was said that is correct, unfortunately. That individual was not a resident of Shreveport, but he came to Shreveport and did what he did. We almost made it through January with just one, which was greatly different from January the previous year. We had a total of 5 homicides. The one that we recorded at the end of January this year, the inception of that crime took place across the river, and that individual was brought back in and unfortunately expired in our city. And so, but 2 is too many, and I will always say that any crime, any homicide, any victim is 1 too many, but we try to do what we do to combat crime as much as we can. So having said that, what I'll try to do is speak relative to the numbers that our senior crime analyst gives us from the reports and the arrests that are made. Just to give you a picture of September to December of last year, which we call our fourth quarter, which consists of 4 months, I'm going to give you some totals just to show from District 4, which used to be old District 5 over in Stony Hill and Highland. We ended with a 2% decrease in major crimes. In District 5, we ended the fourth quarter with a 7% decrease. In District 6, we ended with a 16% decrease. And overall, for that fourth quarter, we had an 8% decrease in crime. Now, I'm giving the numbers just to show that our people are working. I know that if it were you that experienced some activity, sometimes numbers don't mean much. But they do in the sense that it shows that our men and women are working. The information that they receive from tips, through Crime Stoppers, the communication that goes on through the Facebook pages and through the neighborhood associations, those leads and those follow-ups actually lead to arrest. So in the sense of the effort that we are putting forth that you don't see, then these numbers really do matter. And they are things that can be checked. Our next set of numbers comes actually from a 6-month group of statistics that we took from August of 2017 to January of 2018. And we went from District 4, again, we had another 7% overall decrease in the major crimes. In District 5, we had a 10% overall decrease. In District 6, we had a 13% overall decrease. And the total of those comprised in Area 2, which those 3 districts make up, was a 10% decrease. I'm thinking about sales. We also, for Area 2, solely Area 2, we took numbers for January 2018. And for District 4, we ended with a 26% decrease. We measured January 2017 numbers to January 2018 numbers. And that was a 20% decrease in the major crime area for District 4. For District 5, there was a 30% decrease. For District 6, a 19% decrease. And the total of the 3 was a 20% decrease.
Would you say that again about District 5?
30%?
30% decrease?
Yes, sir. January 2017, a total of the major crimes, and I'll just say the list that we use: homicide, manslaughter, justifiable homicides, rape, robbery, person robberies, business robberies, aggravated battery, aggravated assault, residential burglaries, business burglaries, purse snatching, shoplifting, theft from business, theft from residence, auto accessory theft, theft from auto, theft general, and auto theft. So in 2017, that number came to 218, and we recorded at the end of 2018 for January 153. So that's where that 30% decrease came from. And for District 6, January 2017 was 112, and January 2018 was 91. And so those totals came to, for 2017, 429, and 2018, 317, which was overall a 26% decrease. We also did we called it a period 1 and period 2 of the 2 years for the same time frame from August to January of 2017, and from from 2016 August to January 2017, and then from August 2017 to January 2018. And in the major categories of our Part 1 crimes, in period 1, there was a total of 25. We closed out with 24, which was a 4% decrease. In forcible rapes, we had a 20% decrease. The total robberies went down by 20%, from 291 in period 1 down to 232 in period 2. As far as the burglary category, residential and business, we saw a total of a 25% decrease. In our thefts, which comprise of purse snatch and shoplifting, theft from business, theft from residence, auto accessory theft, theft from auto, other thefts, we saw a total decrease of 13%. In our violent crime index, which comprised of homicide, robbery, rape, and aggravated assault and battery, we saw a 14% decrease. And the property crimes index, we saw a 15% decrease. A lot of the property crimes, a lot of the residential burglaries, and even some of the other crimes that our detectives are being able to make arrests on, some of them are from identifiable fingerprints that are being lifted from scenes. Some of them is from DNA evidence of clothing that is left at the scene. And we get matches on them, and they do the rest of their investigative work to secure warrants for these individuals. And our warrants units, along with our men and women on patrol, along with the men and women with the community liaison office of our community and policing bureau, they work tirelessly. They put together various operations, and they go to target areas to where we have high rates of crime or activity, and they try to make a difference in that area. Something most recent, as it relates to the boulders over in District 6, but we believe that that individual, along with some other ones, wasn't just over in that district. I think they were making their way throughout Area 2. But because of the work that they put forth, because of the efforts of even certain residents, we were able to identify an individual. And from the SRO that works at Captain Shreve, our liaison officers communicated with the SRO at Captain Shreve on the identity of this individual. And we were actually able to apprehend, he's a juvenile, involved in a lot of this activity. Now, here's something that is not that great when it comes to trying to contain a lot of these individuals, because that same juvenile that we arrested for those activities, while we were in the administrative session of City Council on last evening, we received an email that that individual was possibly being released with an ankle bracelet. So if that actually wound up being the case, hopefully the ankle monitor will do what it's designed to do, because if it doesn't, then that individual that our men and women apprehended will be back on the loose to reconnect with whoever it is that we're still trying to catch that are terrorizing, in a sense, our neighborhoods by breaking into people's cars and stealing and whatever else it is that they are doing. Because of that work that our men and women are doing, they located a stolen vehicle in the area that individual live, and from that they were able to, from a receipt, they were able to go and ascertain video from a store and view that video and make those connections. So every little bit helps. I know sometimes we live in a fast-paced society and we want everything just like that. And I'll stand here and honestly tell you, I wish we could give it to you like that, but we do live in a nation of laws. We do have freedoms and civil liberties. And so we have to follow the rule of law. That's what we have to do in order to try to apprehend those who are committing crimes, those who are threatening our safety, threatening our way of life and our welfare. We have to follow the law, because it's not just the arrest, that's just the start of it. But if it goes to court, then those officers, those investigators have to get on the witness stand and testify to what they did, to the actions that they took. And if they erred in some way, did not do what they were supposed to do according to the law, then those individuals stand a good chance of getting off. So I know that's not the pretty part of law enforcement, but it's a necessary part. And so I just wanted to say some of those things. We do have some preliminary numbers for January of this year. Some of them may change, but as of this email that I received on yesterday from our senior crime analyst, Mr. John Fox, who does an excellent job, the total homicides as of January 2018 versus 2017, it was 5 in 2017, 2 in January 2018. And that is a 60% decrease in total homicides. As it relates to the robbery category, we had a 21% decrease in total robberies. We had a 40% decrease in total burglaries. The total thefts, we had a decrease of 24% and a 28% decrease in auto thefts. Overall, that grand total came to a 20% decrease. Our violent crime index is 22% decrease, and the property crimes index came to a 28% decrease. Now, again, in all the hard work and labor that the men and women of the Shreveport Police Department are putting forward, and the partnership of the communities that we serve, somebody is still out committing a crime. We are thankful to what the council and the mayor did on last year in allotting us $150,000, I think it was, to put together various operations to work overtime to try to combat the things that we were experiencing. And we were fortunate enough to get another $300,000 in the budget that was approved to continue the same. And so the operations that we do from the warrants division, from the operations that our CLOs do, and thank you, Broadmoor, for the helmets, thank you for the equipment. Anybody, whatever it is that you have done, are doing, and will do, we thank you. And we will be putting those bicycles out. But I will allow those who will be riding them, since both sergeants are here, any questions you may have relative to that, we will allow them to come up and address. We do have the lieutenant from our investigations division, property crimes, am I correct? We do have her here, and we have various members from our community-oriented policing bureau here to answer any questions you may have there. I do want to say something else. I don't know if this will come up, but I was told that on some of the social media sites that there was a concern about a residential issue at 227 Forest. I'm told that there's been a lot of chatter. I just want to, I don't know, I was also told of a comment that one of my officers made. I don't know if that's true or not. But what I did want to do, after we found out about it, we actually pulled the call history. And I just wanted to share that with you all in the event that some of you may be aware of that. The incident took place on January 28th of 2018. The call was received at 12:47. It was dispatched at 12:48. The first officer was on scene at 12:51. Matter of fact, 2 officers got on scene. A sergeant and a patrolman arrived on scene at 12:51. And then a 3rd officer arrived at 12:53. What was supposedly said was that an officer made the remark that the reason it took them so long to get there was that they were at the CVS, I think it is, at Flournoy Lucas and Ellaby Road. Now, from the time of dispatch at 12:48 to 12:51, that's right. Okay, that's roughly a 3-minute period. So it is impossible. So again, what I wanted to do, again, not knowing because I wasn't there, I wasn't privy to the conversation. But what we did was pull the call for service. The time of dispatch can be checked. The time that the call was received, can be checked. The time that it was dispatched can be checked. The time of arrival can be checked. And as a matter of fact, once we got on scene, we even called for the fire department at 12:54 because the resident did an excellent job of detaining the individual, and we were able to make an arrest. So I don't know if that officer may have been, I don't know why, if that's true, they were compelled to say what they said if they in fact said it. But I just read to you a history of the event. So I would hope that no one working for us would be purposely giving bad information. That is not good. But I just read to you the history of the call. I try to stick to numbers, logic, and operate within the confines of the law and the guidelines that we are to hold ourselves to. It gets very tricky, very dangerous, and absolutely wrong when you go outside of those, when you start doing what you know is wrong to try to accomplish what you believe is right. So I try to speak only on that which I know, and that which what we can prove will help us in the event that it shows up again. I understand in law enforcement, in the judicial system, I know we don't have the luxury of vague talk. So I try to, if I don't know it, I try to find it out. If there's somebody here, like we have, that probably can answer some of the questions you may have far better than me, I will defer to them. So, Mr. Broussard, that's pretty much it on this part, unless somebody does have a question for me, and I will try to answer it. And if I can't, like I said, we have some men and women here from the Shreveport Police Department that I hope can answer your questions.
And if you do have a question, would you please step up to the mic? But let me lead off by asking a couple of questions. Chief, regardless of the statistics, we still lead the city in the number of crimes committed. that y'all have responded to. 127.
Rob, we can't hear you, Rob. You got
Thank you for calling me to my position. The big question, let's get right to it. Despite the figures that we see in the data that's been released by the police department, if you use that data, there was 127 crimes committed as of January 30th. 127. We led the city in crime. What are some of the things that you're doing, thinking outside of the box, to turn those numbers around? We could talk about the stats all day. Tell us some ideas and some things that you're doing to get District 5 in a better position. And second, these districts, and I think everybody needs to really hear this, District 5 is made up with Anderson Island, Dixie Gardens, Shreve Island, Broadmoor, Waterside, South Highlands, Cedar Grove area, north of 70th. So you see, that's a really big area, and it may be a better indicator for us as citizens of Broadmoor if y'all could come up with a way to narrow that down so that we can actually see what's happening in our neighborhood.
One of the main things we continue to try to do is inform and educate as best we can our citizens without offending anyone. So as Corporal Crow said earlier, sometimes taking that extra second to make certain that your vehicle is locked or to make certain that nothing is left inside, that would be appetizing to somebody who's trying to help themselves with your belongings. So again, a lot of, at least some of the vehicles that were stolen. Matter of fact, we were asked by one of the council members relative to the issues that were happening in the boulders. And from what our investigation showed, again, as Corporal Crow alluded to, those individuals that are doing these things, many of them are looking for opportunity. And so they are getting out, they pull on the car door. If it's locked, they leave it alone. And they go to the next one. If it's locked, they leave it alone and go to the next one. The one that's open is the one that they began to rummage through. And if, unfortunately, the key fob or key is left in it, then the likelihood of them leaving it is probably good. Now, in all due respect, it's if you're at home, that's your house, that's your garage, that's your driveway. But unfortunately, people move throughout this city, and we cannot just simply stop that movement unless there is something that gives us reason to. So the things that we can do, I stay on my wife a lot. I have a nasty habit. When I come home, I put on my car doors. We are constantly sometimes, when I see my keys, I'll get it and I'll hit the button to make certain it's locked. It's locked. Is that unfortunate that we have to do that? Yes. But is it a reality of the world that we live in? There was a citizen, I don't really know who she is, that sent an email this morning to the mayor's office when she found out I would be here speaking. And she said that one of the things that Crump should say is that people need to raise their children. Raise.
Probably a true statement.
Raise. Okay. But everybody has an opinion about how to address this issue, but we still have to act within the confines of the law. Could that be a facet? Yes. We have experienced juveniles being out well past curfew, committed some of these crimes. We have experienced juveniles being driven by adults, going through the apartment complexes, checking cars. And so as we find out patterns and things of that nature, we try to put together operations to address it. And again, a lot of what we do and a lot of what we're able to accomplish really do come sometimes from phone calls from somebody just giving a description or something we can continue to follow a lead on. Anything more specific to this area, especially with the addition of the new bicycles. If it's something that the CLOs can talk about, I would much rather them talk about it because they can answer it in more detail.
Most of these crimes are committed at night. What are you doing?
I just finished saying that.
What are you doing as the police chief?
No.
What kind of programs are you implementing for our area? You know,
What do you mean?
What is it? Are you having increased patrols?
Yes.
Okay. I mean, that's just one. Are we? You know, is there anything out of the box that y'all are planning on doing, or?
We Operation Long Haul, which have been in effect since last year, we again look at the crime pattern, we look at the calls for service and the type of crime, and then the commanders, even the sergeants, commanders of that particular area, particular district, they have the luxury of putting together various operations. All of them I do not have the intimate knowledge of, just like a lot of what the CLOs do. Our community response unit have actually been in this area, I think, for the last probably couple of weeks. They alter their hours. Sometimes the normal hours for our community response unit, most of them you may see in Black Crown Victorias. They normally work Wednesday to Saturday. Their normal duty hours are from 2 to midnight, but based up off of certain shifts, certain patterns, we're able to alter their days, we're able to alter their times, and we have been doing that. Our warrants unit run operations. Our narcotics unit, that is in partnership with the Cattle Parish Sheriff's Office, they run various operations. As a matter of fact, they made a hit on a house right along Southfield based upon some information that was given, and they were able to secure the adequate search warrant, and they made a hit on the house, and they recovered stolen property, and so and from that incident, other arrests were made because of the fact that stolen firearms were in there. It led to other arrests from different residences in this area. So there are some things, and I know I get dinged for this as though we're trying to be secretive, but that's not the case. There are certain things that we are not able to talk about because of the nature of it and the danger that exists, and we don't want to broadcast to those who are trying to get everything that we are doing. But we are making efforts, and again, if there is something that our community liaison officers are working on, Sergeant Fletcher or Sergeant Bowman could speak on that if they have something.
Let's take a question. Yes, sir.
I have a statement and a question. Now, surely so, you didn't but inherit this whole situation of Broadmoor and its surrounding area. But I want to know why it is that my block, Patton Avenue, where at one time we had 58 children living on that block, that we can't get enough police presence to keep the speeders and the transient people running down that block, taking care of this neighborhood. Same thing goes with the park. AZ Steer Park is overrun by people who do not live in this neighborhood, do not live in the area, but they think they can come over here, trash the park, drive their cars wherever they want, put trash wherever they want, and I know seniors, and I don't see any of them here, but I know seniors that used to walk in that park that won't step foot in it anymore. We don't have a protected neighborhood like we once had. This place is running rampant. It's not just the guns that's been stolen out of vehicles, the cars that's been broken into, because I've gone up and down my block, going door to door with flyers and informing my neighbors of what's been going on in the neighborhood, that they didn't even know about it. I called the police department how many times? I've offered my driveway for a patrol officer, for a motorcycle officer, to park his bike there and catch them as they come through. Because I can tell you the exact times that they're flying through here and where they're going. They're coming out of the duck pond, they're flying down Patton Avenue, they get to Anston, they hook a right, and they're taking off the Kings Highway to get over to the liquor store. Because I've seen the cars over there when I've gone to other areas. I know exactly what they're doing. They're using it as a cut through so I can go get booze to run back through the neighborhood. But they're going there to get it, you gotta have to get back. You're getting there as fast as you can. Anything over 25 miles an hour is still breaking the law as far as I know. And I know scientifically how I can calculate from my driveway to the end of the block where I have a marker and count time, and I can estimate almost within a few miles how fast they're going. And rarely, we get anybody doing 25 miles an hour. And I've even caught my own neighbors doing the same thing. And I try to point out to them how important it is to use 25 miles an hour as our gauge. The kids are all grown up in my neighborhood, but my street is turning around. From all the kids that are grown up, now they're moving back with the children of their own. We may not have 58 kids on that block, but I've got at least a dozen of them that are little kids. They run out in the street, they're playing, they're having fun, like the kids, like my sons did when I first moved there, and I've been living there for almost 19 years.
Could I ask you, what block had you said it was?
100 block.
100 block. I will make certain that that is addressed. I can say to you that when we receive complaints, when they make it, a lot of them don't make it to my office, but when they do, we receive emails a lot of times from council members and sometimes other concerned citizens about a particular block. And what I normally do is forward that to our traffic commander and to the commander over the CLO.
I'm sorry, Chief, but I've heard the same thing for years.
Okay.
It doesn't change, I'm sorry. It doesn't change. The same chain goes through. We have heard the same thing over and over again. We don't get anything done until I get on the phone and I gotta call 911 and tell them that there's people over in the park driving on the grass, drinking, playing loud music. Oh, we'll send an officer over.
So
I find them in back of Lowe's. I find them in back of other stores. I find them not even in the area. We don't have a police president. I wonder why it is Bossier can have a city police department that doesn't take anything. Our police department lets anybody get run over by whatever. I don't understand why. I'm sorry.
Thank you. Chief.
excuse me.
Okay. Okay.
To what I believe to have been a question in the midst of that. Tonight is tonight. I can speak on what I can start trying to do tomorrow. And we will have somebody address the issues in the 100 block of Patton and to do whatever needs to be done by way of assessing that situation to see what action needs to be taken going forward. That's the best that I can say to you all tonight. And to my recollection, this is the first time I have heard about these issues in the 100 block of Patton, and that's all that I can speak on, but I can assure you, moving forward, that we will address it.
Ken?
No.
Yes, sir, Mr. Kraft.
Mr. Kraft? 2 minutes.
Mine is just 2 quick questions. Did you drop your gun chasing that fellow? No, I'm kidding. We have new academy class underway, and I have two questions. How long does the academy training run? And how many of these new graduates later this year will be assigned to patrol?
We were fortunate enough to get 39 in this class that's slated to start on February 23rd. And it's roughly about 17 weeks, maybe a little bit more, post added some additional requirements that would take it beyond the normal, the traditional 16 weeks that it once was. So we're looking forward to that class starting. I really do hope that all 39 persevere. And if so, we will be looking excellent, getting ready for the fall class, which is in August. Again, numbers may not seem like much, and it may seem like a drag, and some people take it as us making excuses, but here's a reality. Between retirements, resignations, and terminations, we lose roughly between 27 to 30 people a year. That's just the average, or if you go on numbers, 2.7 people, I don't know how you get the 0.7, but roughly the number have consistently failed there, that 2.7 people a month we lose. And so we are constantly recruiting to try to keep our numbers up. Some years back, we had, I think, 2 cycles to where I think 7 was in one class and 15 was in another. And so that's not even 1 year of losing people. So, and policing is not, and this is no knock on any school system as a whole. Custodians can be on a call list, that if somebody calls in sick, you can go to that list and call up somebody to fill that space. Substitute teachers can be on a call list. If a teacher is out, many teachers have their favorites that they call if they know they're going to be out. Well, law enforcement does not have that luxury. If somebody is out sick or somebody is hurt, whether it be off-duty or on-duty injury, there is no place that we can call to get 5 police officers to fill in for a shift to make up for that. So,
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
I have a couple of issues. I happen to live on the Broadmoor Speedway from Erie to Fern. It's called Atlantic Avenue. I've never seen anybody out there timing those cars just to make sure that they're within the speed limit. I learned my lesson on Preston when that policeman stepped out behind that tree with the gun and he said, and I had to pay a fine. So I don't get over 25 miles an hour. Just the presence of somebody out there will make people behave. Now, I'm a retired school teacher, and I had to work on that principle. Just because I show up means that you better look out because I'm watching you. And I don't want to go into a lot of history, but I had a bad time with one of my duty stations at a high school during lunch outside the boys' bathroom. When I walked in with this cloud of smoke inside the bathroom, and I looked down there and it was a bitty short stub smoking. And I told the principal, he said, if you can't catch it in the hand, you can't do anything. And I keep going in that restroom and I see the same ones in there making that cloud of smoke. Never could catch it. But they gradually understood that I was there. Another issue, I also live within a block of police superintendent, or your police superintendent, a state policeman, and canine patrolman. They're all right there, and they keep their cars on the street. Now that's gonna slow some of it down, but it doesn't slow it all down. But then there's all these other streets around that nobody watches.
What is your question?
The question is, why can't we have people standing out there to help keep this stuff down? Just the presence of this stuff is gonna help.
You said Atlantic Avenue, right?
Right. Oh, well, you can cover that whole area.
Thank you.
We will address that. Now, I do know that I cannot tell you that somebody will be there from 8 to 5.
Okay.
But I can assure you that we will have a presence periodically in that area to try to address as much as that as possible.
And I've spoken to some of my neighbors, and they want to know, why don't we have a patrol car come through every now and then? And they asked me, how often do I see them? And I said, I haven't seen one in a while. And I've been there 20 years.
Thank you, sir.
I got one more thing. The halfway houses. From my house, there's 4 on each corner.
I know where you live.
You know where I live.
We've addressed that issue as
And they have complaints from the neighbors. And you can drive through Broadmoor and you can see the for sale signs. You're within 500 feet of a halfway house. And the houses start going up for sale. So, what can you do? That's the question. Do we have to do it ourselves, or can you handle that?
Well, I mean, that's not a particular law enforcement issue by way of violation that I would personally deal with. We've actually had trouble with some of those ourselves, and it's difficult to try to deal with those. But we're not the ones that set those boundaries. We're not the ones that set the guidelines that those houses operate under. So
Let me address that.
yes, sir.
Let me, I can answer that question better than the chief of police. We were identified with complaints about the halfway houses. We took action. We pushed for a year, but finally we got the city council to vote an ordinance in that would stop those halfway houses from cropping up less than 900 feet from each other. There's like 12 in the city of Shreveport. Broadmoor has 11. And I went to bat against the Oxford houses and called them in Maryland and talked to their attorneys multiple times. And they said under Federal Fair Housing Act, they have a right to do that. But the question is what can the police department do in monitoring those houses? One of the things I noticed that a policeman put on Facebook was the restrictions on parking. You know, within so many feet of an intersection, blocking another person's driveway, you know, and so those are some of the things maybe that we can ask our CLO to start looking into. As a matter of fact, there's our CLO right over there. We had this conversation about 2 weeks ago, didn't we? We had a conversation, so we are addressing that, okay?
Okay.
Thank you.
I'll pass that on.
Okay, thank you. Next question, please.
Hi, I have a little Facebook group, and I'm all about getting the neighbors out to be the eyes and the ears for the police. Do our numbers have anything to do with more reports? I was raised over in Highland, and my old school parents would get their car broken into all the time. They would never call the police. So those numbers kind of skew things. I've been passing out flyers all over most of Broadmoor with my neighbors, so remember to lock your car. The other question I have, so I guess my question is all of this reporting really driving our numbers up?
Well, we want to report. It's unfortunate. We don't want you to not report it. And yeah, the more calls for service coming in, but you're calling because of crime
Right.
is being committed.
Like when I lived in Highland, my parents and them would just say, oh, well, the lawnmower's gone, or they cut the top off the Jeep, or, you know, the crime just wasn't reported. And when I listen to the scanner and post these calls, I know there's a lot more crime in those areas, and I'm afraid they're just not reporting, but we are. Broadmoor is. And I put a post out to ask why we live in Broadmoor, and the reason we really live in Broadmoor is we love it. We love the neighbors. It's a kind and a great place to raise kids.
I need to
My
talk
next
to you
question.
Excuse me, I need to talk to you after the meeting because I've been reading your blog and I wish everybody in here had been because you asked some really good questions, and that is, why do you live in Broadmoor and what are your expectations? And so I just want to give you a kudos for that, if that's all right.
I just want people to think, it's our neighborhood, we have to protect it. We can't expect 600 police to be here watching us, but that's how we feel. I feel very comfortable at night in Broadmoor. The next question is about auxiliary policing. Can they run radar?
You know, our auxiliary police, they are a non-enforcement side of the Shreveport Police Department. We do have a reserve officer program, but unfortunately we only have one that remained somewhat active, and he couldn't do a whole lot because of the type of work that he did. So we actually would love to get those programs up and running again, but the issue is the citizen that's willing to volunteer that time, actually finding that time and that commitment from the auxiliary side to go through the 10-week academy, that's for it, and from the reserve side to go through the full police academy in order to do those things. So we are open for beefing those 2 units up if we can just get individuals that are devoted to the mission.
Thank you. Thank you. Please limit yourself to one question. Choose the most important. We have like 3 or 4.
This is a real fast one, in and out.
Yeah.
I understood that there is a generic car type opener thing that's out, that you lock your car and that somebody can come up by your car and push the button and unlock your car. And since they can do that, it doesn't make your alarm go off. Have you heard anything about an item like that?
I heard some vague talk about it. The only thing I can say to you, just from reading, I think our PIO was asked that question recently in an interview, Amy Wilhite, and having worked this area when she was in property crimes, she talked about some of the issues with vehicle burglaries and thefts and things of that nature, and that question came up. And she responded by saying she did not have any knowledge of any device that would do that, and neither do I. Now, I don't know if anybody else is here with the police department that may know of a certainty of some type of fob that can unlock a vehicle and in turn possibly get access to it starting so a vehicle can be stolen.
I just wonder, I heard a rumor in our neighborhood that somebody in our neighborhood had that happen there, that it was opened up
And I don't know. We've never heard of it.
Okay. That was easy, wasn't it?
Thank you, sir. Next question, please.
This is probably the biggest concern in Broadmoor for my husband and I, and we talk about this a lot on Facebook, and I know it's a big concern for everyone, and it's a Section 8 apartment complex. And we believe that it has brought our neighborhood down in property values. I know for a fact that the manager of Albertsons, it's a huge concern for him. And y'all know that you have been called there many times. You've been called to the apartment complex many times. He has tried to put up a permanent fence there. It was torn down the first night he put it up. It took him a long time to get permission to even put that fence up from his corporate, and they tore it down the first night. And we don't even know what to do. We were not even advised when this was made Section 8. I know it's in total disrepair right now. A lot of the apartments are, we've been told. Someone even looked up, I believe Jan did, looked up who we don't know if it's the owners or the management group, but, you know, can Broadmoor or can our neighborhood not be told when houses or apartment complexes be made Section 8? Do we not have a say in this, in this thing that is happening to our neighborhood?
Yes.
Yes, please, somebody help
That's a
us.
question more to the neighborhood association, and we've been made aware of the Section 8 houses behind Albertsons, the apartments. And again, we have gone to bat in that situation, but we are very sternly reminded of the Federal Fair Housing Act, and in terms of housing for people, there's really nothing we can do to stop that without violating a federal law. I mean, we're skating the edge even as we speak with the halfway houses, and it's federal law. But unfortunately, I think one of the solutions is that when people commit crimes out of that area, that the police department is notified immediately, or if people are not acting in a
So we
civilized
can't
manner.
even be notified if they're going to make housing around us Section 8 or anything like that? No. There's
There's
no
no
requirement.
requirement, no,
Okay.
there's not. I'm sorry.
Okay.
We're having to
I know.
struggle through it.
I know.
Next question.
One thing about the Section 8, the owners must keep that property to certain standards, or they're not allowed to do the Section 8, because they're making a lot more money than they made before. You know what I mean?
Yes, ma'am.
So that should be addressed if it is torn up. The owners must put it back in condition to be allowed to do Section 8. If that helps you find. My other thing is, I have friends that have the concrete ditches with the big pipes that these kids are running up into when someone's chasing them, and I've been told they can go all over the city underground through those things. Is that right?
There are some drainage ditches that they have been known to use throughout the city.
Do y'all watch them?
But no, I don't know that they will run down in the drainage ditch on this side of town and round up all the way over on the west side of town. But
Well, I've been told, like, on Crestwell, there's Bayou Pierre that goes from one end of the city all the way to Natchitoches, I think. And they can run down, goes right across the property of the Rileys. And they can go through there and come out on the other side of line.
it's probably true.
Well, I just wondered if you ever looked there for people.
Well, I mean, they do use the concrete ditches and other ways that connect certain neighborhoods. They have been known to use those, and our officers, those that patrol the various districts, when they are in foot pursuit or if they are looking for a suspect, if they can navigate through those same paths, they do that.
On that topic, I would say that I can say that it happened. My kids did it. And I learned the hard way.
Before our next question, I was handed a note. I need to make sure and get this taken care of, so please excuse me for 1 second. I think we need to take a moment and take a breather and remember in our thoughts Lou Burnett, a person who we owe a lot to in this area as a reporter, who was on the cutting edge of keeping us informed on what was really going on in Louisiana politics. And personally, I've got to say that Lou Burnett was a person I called when I became president of the Broadmoor Neighborhood Association. I said, Lou, what do I do? What do I do, Lou? And he gave me advice that I've tried to carry through. I hope I've made him proud, but for Lou Burnett, would you please give a moment of silence, please. Thank you. I also want to very quickly recognize that while our discussions have been going on, we've had Councilmember Bowman come in. We have Oliver Jenkins that's here now. And one other thing, I would like to know that since we have so many people that operate in the legislative body, you know, I'd like to challenge y'all to meet with us and tell us one thing as a representative you're going to do for Broadmoor in the upcoming year, or what is one piece of legislation or what kind of ideas can you offer to help make this a better neighborhood. And I ask that sincerely. Okay, so back to the questions. Ms. Danielle.
Sure thing. So I appreciated hearing all of the data and numbers that you had to share with us at the beginning of this. It was surprising but encouraging. I mean, every single thing you had to say was decrease. A decrease over last year, a decrease over last month, a decrease over the last few months or whatever. When looking back at the big picture, is there anything you can attribute those decreases to? And if so, let's do more of that.
The part, I believe that the partnership between the police department and the communities that we serve is paramount. The effort that our officers have been putting forth, they really love this city. I think they go out on each shift and prove that. Just as I was, when I left council on the way here, there's been a gentleman that has resorted to using bats to rob what it appears to be females more than anybody else. And I was listening to that call on the way over here that we may have apprehended him. I'm not certain. I have to try to find out when we're done. But another call went out on a robbery, and men and women in that district, in that area, were on it. And they were circulating and communicating back and forth on the vehicle and on a clothing description and things of that nature, trying to make certain they apprehended that individual. Again, information from Crime Stoppers, it goes, words can't express how much that means in helping us do what we do. Again, the Facebook pages, the neighborhood associations, those that desire to, if they once had a neighborhood program and it went dormant, if they want to wake those back up, contacting our Community Oriented Policing Bureau for them to come out and talk to you about getting that neighborhood watch program started back up, and the encouragement of getting to know your neighbors, getting to know what's familiar in your neighborhood. And sometimes, though we live in a free society and the sidewalks are free, the roadways are free, but you can still have an idea of the layout of your neighborhood. And if something appears suspicious to you or out of the ordinary, it doesn't hurt to call the police. And we may be able to come out and check it out, because again, as Mr. Broussard said, people are using bicycles and other modes of transportation to go across town, to go into various neighborhoods and commit these acts, and going back to wherever it is that they reside. Matter of fact, the latter part of last year, some of the people that had been menacing the Southern Hills area and West Shreveport was actually caught over here. But their crimes went from the west side of the city over to the east side. So just that partnership is paramount, and is evident that the men and women of the Shreveport Police Department are working, because that trend of decrease is continuing.
Thank you. My question is I also live in the 300 block of Atlantic, which is from Uri, and it goes directly to Broadmoor Middle. And yes, there is a major speeding problem in that block, but the major speeders are they Caddo Parish school buses? Because I don't even set my alarm. I just simply get up when I hear those engines roaring down the street. I get out at the end of my driveway and I have to wait. Bus after bus after bus speeding down that street.
You give them tickets?
Yes, my question is can you give a Caddo Parish school bus driver a ticket?
Yes.
Why don't you?
Okay. So
Why do you not operate close to the schools where the buses are trying to rush our minors to school? I don't care if a child is late for school. What I care is their safety, getting them there.
Thank you.
So my question is, and we've reported it to the school board. So I see that it's the police department's responsibility. My other question is, there is a house on the corner of Atlantic and Ackerd, which is diagonal from Broadmoor Middle. I understand the owner of that house is a drug dealer. He is in prison at this time. The house is a city dump. And I know it's not the police department's responsibility, it's property standards. But I want to know, is it true that that person was a drug dealer diagonal from a middle school? And why did it go on for so long when people complained about the house?
Okay, so to answer the first question about the school buses, now that I know, we can address that too. And on the other issue, the CLO, Corporal Crow, can get with the property standards person for this district and see if there is something that could be done about the condition of the house there. I don't know if maybe our Office of Special Investigations may very well have some understanding of that location. I don't know. We can definitely check, and even if they do, it would not be anything that I would be able to go into detail with you on, but it may be a situation just like it was at the house over on Southfield, on the information that they received and worked that case and made some arrests. So we can look into it and see where that goes. Thank you.
Can I tell you one thing about that? They will want you to contact the owner. And if the owner's in jail, where are you?
We'll do that. One last question, please, so that we have some other business we need to take care of real quick.
This is back to the Section 8, the apartments by Albertsons.
Yes, ma'am.
And it sure seems to me that the crime has increased in our neighborhood since they became Section 8. So I was just curious to know if we have if you have addresses on the people who have been committing the crimes, and how many or what percentage comes from those apartments versus other parts of the city. If you.
No, standing here talking to you, no, I don't.
Well, I know, but could we develop that just to know?
No, even if I did, I could not give those addresses to you.
I was wondering about that.
Well, one on that side of
Thank all of you that have asked questions.
I see Mike Middleton before. Mike, bear with me for 1 minute. Okay. I want to remind everybody here that our dues run from January to January. If you have not mailed in your dues, please do so ASAP. We're fixing to start purging the email list and the membership list for those people who have not paid. Please consider joining. Our dues are $20 per household. And second, we'll come to the final thing at the end. Mike, question?
Hey, Chief, I'm not here as commissioner, I'm just here as a citizen, okay? Hey, we'd like to invite SPD to come over here. I know you have a Citizens Police Academy they have to attend at the academy. We have enough people over here thirsty for the information, the things that you want to point out as manpower, how you can provide 600 officers on cruise ship, and the kind of things your Mr. Statistician back here built. We need to have something like that. If it's just like 3 or 4 or 5 sessions over here in Broadmoor, because these folks don't want to drive all the way up to the academy. I know where it is. I'm not talking about shooting guns or anything like that. an informational type thing, so they'll understand. And just let them sit there for 20 minutes and listen to a talkie and see how busy y'all are, because I do recognize that, and I appreciate everything everybody does. And I did hear the pursuit a while ago, as I stood in the sheriff's office and police, talking and everything. So anyhow, we'd like to, whatever we can do, facilitate, or maybe through Oliver, Jenkins, we may be able to facilitate some over here, 3 or 4 night sessions, just let people really see the big picture. You can't do it all right here.
Thank you,
Do something like that. Thank you.
Let's go.
Good job.
Thank you, Rob. Chief, thanks for coming out to the neighborhood tonight. I want to commend you because you've drawn the biggest crowd we've had in probably a year. And unfortunately, many of the questions you face, you can't solve because they don't have to do with the police department per se. But I just want to make a little quick point. This neighborhood association's been in existence for 30 years. And we have vacancies on our board, and we have vacancies among our officers. We try our best to keep this neighborhood up, and it's not always about law enforcement. So I'm glad y'all came out tonight. I encourage you to get involved. Don't just come out when there's a sexy topic like law enforcement and crime. Okay, when we're dealing with code enforcement or zoning or matters having to do with our streets, et cetera, it's all one big picture that has to do with the health of this neighborhood. Mr. Broussard's doing his best to carry most of the load, can't do it himself. So, Chief, thank you.
Thank you, sir. That will conclude our speech from Chief Crump. Let's all give him a round of applause. And our men in blue, and ladies in blue. Before we end, thank you, Chief. Appreciate your comments.
Again, let me thank each and every one of you for coming, and those who had to leave, I thank them too. All of the men and women here from the Shreveport Police Department that came standing ready in case you were called upon, thank you so very much. They do an excellent job. The council members that showed up after they finished dealing with the business of the city, thank you for coming. And I, again, just want to encourage you. The question was good, as all others. Whatever it is that we can do for good to make things better, let us endeavor to do those things. And I believe that we will be successful if we stay in it. It may not come as quickly as we want, but if we stay with it and persevere, I believe that we will accomplish and at least leave something better for those who come behind us to continue to build off of that. So again, thank you so much, and God bless you. Thank you, Mr.
And look, we have something for the Chief, a BNA shirt, so you'll be here with us. Let the other neighborhoods know that the BNA, our Corporal Crow, we also have one for you as you ride your bike down the street. We got that shirt for you. Again, thank you all for coming. Please consider joining if you're not already a member. Next month or the month after, we're waiting to hear back from her office